Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode 336 at scavengerlife.com.
Hello, and welcome to Trash Elf Radio.
Are you a trash elf?
That would be great holiday banter. Yeah, So it's what do you do? I'm a trash elf.
Yeah. Explain that to your family.
Yeah. Okay, so Thanksgiving just happened. Great. We didn't spend it with our family. We just spent it with each other and our furry family.
We cleaned one of our rentals.
Yep, we were doing business.
That is like pure work.
Which made me feel very good.
Yeah, because that means business is good. If you're flipping a rental on a holiday.
And we had two families come, each stay in one of our rentals, and they had like their holidays. Like nothing could make me feel like that's the height of hospitality.
Is that people want to come to your rentals to spend the holidays.
Right.
That's so sweet.
And all that is possible because we sold old shoes on the internet.
Yep.
We spent Thanksgiving, we did not cook. We went to like a local kind of community meal.
Yeah, so they had it at the American Legion.
Right. For the vets who didn't serve overseas, they just served in the States, and they had like a free big meal.
Just a community meal. And the super cool thing is we saw a bunch of people that we knew that were volunteering, and we met a bunch of new cool people that we were like, we didn't even know you were here.
Yep.
Like,
it was great.
So
I mean,
cool.
I think it just reminds me, so, we moved to a rural town from a big urban area. Both of us grew up in urban areas and have worked in urban areas, and now we're in like a little tiny small town of 5,000 people. And, we've decided, I mean, I guess it could always change, but for now we've decided like this is where we're going to live and die. And it does show like it's the investment in a small town, instead of, I think, that's how it was for like my family. It's, my dad would move for work and you just move again and again.
Right.
And I feel like because we've chosen and because of eBay, we're able just to live right here. Yeah. We can invest in our relationships.
Right.
I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but...
No, but it's true because, like, it felt so good to go there. And at first I was like, I don't know, are we going to know anyone? It's like, of course you're going to know somebody. It's so small. But, like, there were people there that, like I knew from other, like, community groups and stuff. And it was cool because I'm like, oh, I get to, like, hang out with
people
them,
I see on the streets.
Yeah, or just different people from different... Like, them from different things that you do. So it was really fun, actually.
Yeah, so, the way I look at it, I mean, it's kind of like a scavenger move, Like, what's going to be important to us when we're older? And number one, money. That's always important. But number two, it's also the relationships that you have. And, I'm hoping that by the time I'm 60 or 70 or whatever, I'll know everyone and everyone will know me.
Right.
And I just think that that's a powerful thing. And, knowing people will be more valuable really than anything when we're older.
Yeah, especially in a small place like this. I mean, it makes sense everywhere to know people around you.
Yeah.
But.
And, that can happen in an urban area too. I mean, there are like neighborhoods in big Chicago or in it's New York where people get to know their neighbors. Right. But often in the urban areas is where people are so transient that you don't really get to meet and really, meet people over long term. Like right now, I am trying to find a doctor, a local doctor that I can go to who I know is going to stay here. Yeah. And I could like get to know him over the next 20 years. I mean, I'm not sick now, but at some point I will be.
Well, both of us had doctors that were married and they were young. They were like our age. And then they left. Yeah. It was like they kind of established themselves over like 4 or 5 years. And then they were like, we just want to go back to the city. And we were like, but we just established a relationship with you.
So I actually found a doctor who has a farm here.
Yeah.
And
he's younger.
And he's not taking any more patients. So I had to write him a personal appeal to accept me, and I hope he will. And you know,
yeah.
but really, like, that's important. And and I think that's the other thing too. You know, there might be some people who are like, yeah, but small towns, you know, the problem is then everyone knows you. They know what your business is, and then
which is true.
That's the negative part of it. You know, there's a really great book called Winesburg, Ohio, and it's written in the 30s or 40s, and it's about small towns and about how it's actually not very good because everyone knows your business and it's unhealthy. But I think the difference is these days, 2017, because of the internet, you avoid the trap of being stuck in a small town.
Right.
You know, where you're just like, oh, I wish I could get out there. Well, with the internet, our life is huge. I mean, this right here. You know, we're able to reach all these people. We communicate with people everywhere, and it makes our life feel full.
I mean, also the transportation infrastructure too is like, do you want to go to New York? Well, there's a train station really close to us, and we just go to New York. Like, it's not like back in the 30s or whenever. Like, we actually talk to people who are like, I've basically never left the county.
And we've mentioned this before, and it is like almost a daily part of our conversation is about self-driving cars. Because I like to read about that, and I follow a couple of forums where people are talking about electric batteries and you know, where all that's coming, Tesla and all that. I mean, that is going to be a game changer. When we don't have to own a car, we can just like call a car on our phone, even out here. It comes and picks us up. It takes us to any auction we want to go to. It's like 10 cents each a mile, and we can be on our computers while the thing's driving. It's like, I cannot wait. I'm so excited, you know?
You know, yesterday we took a little road trip to one of the big cities near us. Big cities. It's much bigger than where we live. It's an hour and a half away. It's not DC, but... And, you know, most of the time and the energy is driving. I mean, you're really good at driving because you just like, get into it. Like, it exhausts me to drive, you know? So you're really good. You're just like, we just drove basically 3 full hours, you know, there and back. But you're good at it. But
it does feel like I'm not one of those people that have a romantic view of driving the American highways. It's just like it's monotonous. You just kind of like get into it, and it's like, it's something I got to do, and it's fine. Turn on the radio, but it's like wasted time.
It's wasted time.
So anyway, but we only bring it up because, you know, self-driving cars mixed with a rural area, it's going to be heaven. It's heavenly. It's
also great for people who can't drive anymore, and there are so many people in our area who cannot be self-sufficient, get to the grocery store, and there's no public transportation.
There's like cabs, and they're expensive, but
so
is this blog about self-driving cars?
I don't know, you tell me.
Maybe not, but it is about small towns, and again, it's for us in our whole overall scavenging life strategy, living in a rural area and getting to know the people around us, and, you know, participating. We're both on different kinds of community boards, like helping the town make decisions. Like, that's important to us, and it's exciting, and it's because we own our own time and we can make money on eBay that allows that to happen.
It gives us a time to do that.
Okay, this is what we really want to talk about.
This is the real deal.
Everyone, clear out the stuff off your table. Okay, the big question is, what would you do?
What would you do?
So, would you like me to give like a brief part of the story?
You're good at keeping it brief.
And then I'll let you fill in the details.
Okay.
So we sold a denim jacket online a couple weeks ago for $50.
$60. $59.
It was one of the things where we listed it and it sold immediately. It's not the first time it happened.
Right.
You know. And, you know, we, like anyone else, you're like, ooh, did we misprice that? You know? And most, you know, every other time we're like, whatever. Yeah. It's probably the right price. It's what it is. Pack it and go. So we did pack it, and it sat on the front porch where the post office, a lady will come and pick it up.
Right.
In the big pile. And throughout the day, starting that night, because it sold like on Saturday. So starting on Saturday, before it got picked up on a Monday, we just started getting messages from people like, I can't believe you sold that. You know, that's crazy. People sent me like snapshots from Instagram where just
random other people
we don't even know are talking about it. Like, this is a steal of the century. And we're just like, oh man, like, what is this thing? Because it just looks like a jean jacket. And my thing was like, well, we sold it. I mean, how much could it really sell for? What, a couple $100? Like, I mean, we make so much money on other things all day long, no big deal. And so I was just like, okay, forget it. And I was trying to, we were chatting back and forth because you were in your office and we do a lot of text chat to each other. I was like, it's okay. Because I could tell that you were nervous about it.
I was literally obsessing over it. Obsessing. I had to like call my mom to talk about it. I'm
and
not
then
kidding.
You came over to the house about 3 o'clock.
It was 3 o'clock.
And the mail lady had not come yet. It's very strange that she would come that late.
I know why she didn't come. But.
Okay. And you just said, I can't do it. I can't sell this thing at this price. And you went and grabbed it.
Which I've never done.
We've never done that before. And I was like, okay, this is all you. And you did good. You wrote the buyer and you said, this was a mistake from one seller to another, because this person obviously knew what he had, and you just said, I can't sell to this. It was it was an error. I apologize. You can buy anything in our store at a discount. And then he wrote back and he said, can I pay you $500 for this? $600 for
10
this.
times what he paid.
And then the other thing is, the reason why he didn't leave us a negative feedback was we're smart on your part. As you said, if you leave us a negative feedback, I will block you, and you won't be able to then bid on the item. And he didn't give us negative feedback.
Now,
so
I will say that, I mean, you left out a part. I mean, He was threatening us. He was like, how dare you? I know you sold it to someone else. Like, he was getting really angry, which I understand, you know. But, I will leave you negative feedback in 7 days. That's what he said. And I was like, look, you know it was underpriced. You offered me 10 times what you paid. It's clearly a mistake. I'm a vintage collector. You're a vintage collector. You got to understand. And if you leave negative feedback, I'm going to block you from bidding on it in, a couple weeks. And that actually worked. I was like, I want you to buy this at the right price.
And so we put it on auction.
Yep.
And a 7-day auction, and it sold for $1,125. One of our highest sales. To someone in Japan.
In Tokyo.
So that's the story. Do you want to fill in some of the colorful details?
I mean, the colorful details are, I've never canceled on someone because of price. I've always done my research, and this particular item, it's one of those items where you can't find anything about it. It's not a Levi's. It's not a Lee. It's not one of those brands that you're like, collectors look for that stuff, And
it was in such good shape. It looked like from the 70s.
It looked like it was from the 70s.
But it was really from the 20s.
It was from the 20s, and it was one of those, perfect storm items where you're like, there's no way this could be that old.
Right.
And I can't find anything on this brand. Whatever. You're just, that's your snap judgment.
We don't do auctions. Yeah. So we just buy it now prices. And this was one of the times when we just made an error and this is where, people say, this is where auctions really shine, where there's really no history. It's really sought after. Right. It had 100 people who were
watching, 100 watchers
watching it. And,
and it was seen 1,000
And,
times.
At the end, it got up to $300, but then right at the end, all these snipes came in, and it came into over $1,000. Yeah. And I think it would have sold even more because the person had a proxy bid, and it would have sold more if someone had kept,
if someone else had that, yeah.
So,
hello.
So anyway, so why do you think it sold for so much, Ryan? You said...
Okay, so there are denim collectors.
Which we didn't really know about.
I mean, I knew that people collected denim, but I guess I thought it was only high-end brands, and only ancient denim, from the 1800s. I didn't realize a 1920s jacket of an unknown brand the other part about it was in perfect condition. Not perfect, but very, very good condition. And it was a size small. So that's rare to find, especially for Japanese collectors who are not like, huge double X.
Right, like smaller guys is like me, it would be perfect for
So
me.
that's rare. So all those things combined. I also I got help from Kate, who we've interviewed before.
She's really good at
research.
Research.
So she helped me find a newspaper advertisement from 1929 with that brand jeans advertised. So I put that in the listing, like, this is a brand from the 1920s.
And it's funny, when we first posted the auction, we were getting immediately, like within the first 10 minutes, we were getting messages of people saying, 600, buy it now.
I'll buy it 600.
Like, I'll do it right
now.
now.
So to me, that said that's half price, because these are dealers who want to sell it. So I'm like, I'm going to let it go, obviously.
And then it's funny because when these things happen, we've sold rarely these kind of items.
Yeah.
But it really is like, then you get addicted. And now I know every time I go to a thrift store, you're going through denim.
I will only look at denim.
It's like one of those, it's like a unicorn.
You're
I don't know.
chasing a unicorn.
Maybe we'll find one again one day, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's good to keep an eye out. Yeah. Like, you should just look. You might find something that someone's interested in. I think that the hard thing is, with this job, is knowing all the information all the time. Like, that's the hard thing, where it's like, I know vintage denim, I know vintage clothes, I know vintage items, and this was one of those rare things that I was like, what?
Well, now we know. I mean, now we know very well what to look for. We learn the different kind of buttons that people are looking for.
People were asking me for close-ups of the button and the back of the button and all this stuff.
And now we know why.
So it's the most interesting thing to me, obviously, is that it's such a niche market, and they're looking for such specific things. It's so interesting that someone over there, and so in my research too, I was looking up like high-end denim sellers in Japan. I mean, there are jackets for sale that are incredible, pristine, from the 1800s. For like $5,000. I mean, I'm surprised that's even like, you can even find stuff like that. Yeah. Like, it's just, it's kind of amazing.
And if our mail lady hadn't have come late in the day, which is very rare.
I know why she did. So this is why
we would not be having this conversation.
So that weekend, we had a really good weekend, and I had a ton of boxes. Some were really big. I was sending like 2 leather saddles to New York, and it was like this big box. So what she does on days like that is she'll look on the porch and be like, she'll skip us, do her whole route in our, neighborhood area, come back at the end, and she has room in her Jeep. So that was one of those days where I was like, I'm letting it go. 3 o'clock rolls around, and I'm like, I can't let it go. I'm pulling it. And that's just...
But, I mean, I think this does, and we'll kind of wrap up this part here, as, this brings up our nightmare, is to be, like when you read those articles where someone's like, they found a Rembrandt at a yard sale and they paid $10 for it. The story is always about the person who found it and the money they made and the excitement. I always think of the person that sold it, and just, that's the nightmare, being the person that sells...
That thought it was fake.
The item for $10,
How'd they get a Rembrandt?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple random things before we talk about our week, our further week on eBay. So on the forum, I just want to make this really clear. So, we had a blog for a long time where we would just post a podcast, and then people would just comment under that. And the problem is that then everyone's just like commenting on the same thing, and it was hard to pull out different topics, and people wanted to start new threads. So we went and we spent some money on a forum like we have now. So it's more of a traditional community platform. I feel like we're starting to do the same thing again. We're just, everyone's like dogpiling onto one place and just talking about 18 different things on the same
You mean like on the podcast comments?
Yeah, everyone just like is just talking about different things, and I just want to encourage people to use the software. So if you want to talk about a piece of pottery, just start
a new thread.
A thread about that piece of pottery.
Over in, identification.
Yeah, I mean, we have, good categories. So just, you don't have to. It's just,
well, it's easier for finding later. Like, a lot of people will be like, where was that conversation on such and such?
Right. And then we have a search bar, so you can do a search for, like, denim jeans, and if someone started a thread on that will pop up in 2 years.
$1,000 denim jeans.
I only bring it up just in case people are not aware of that.
Good.
There you go. Period.
No, that's great.
Another thing is
yes, Imager. So we use Imager. imgur.com is great for embedding photos. Like I was saying, like, for identification purposes, if you're like, what is this fabric? Help me.
It's a site to post
a photo,
and it's free, and you don't even have to
sign in or anything. So for a while there, Imager and WordPress were not like playing well together. You couldn't like embed the photos, and now it seems when you just paste the link in, it should automatically embed in WordPress. And now it's working again, thank God.
So when you put a link from that site on the post,
on the forum,
it will then automatically embed. So, people mainly use it for like, what is the thing I have here?
Right.
And post a photo of it or multiple of photos, and it's right there.
It's super helpful.
Yeah. But you can also just a link to anywhere. So if you have a place that you like to link to photos, then do that as well. We do not host those. The other thing is, we talked about it last week. I've been getting into being a meal person. I prep my meals.
Yeah.
I'm a meal person.
You're like...
Total meals.
We have these, like, they're almost like cafeteria tray things, little section things that you can, like... You have this, like, top, and then you can...
It just looks like when you buy, like, a Hungry Man meal, it's like one of those things. It's like a little plastic tray has a top on it.
And
we'll put a link to them. I'm so into it. We have our Instant Pot. I cook, like, I spend a couple hours of cooking, like, on a Sunday. Like, today I just made some barbecue, in there, and I'll make some greens. And then I have a week of meals.
Yeah.
And last week made me so happy. You got into it.
I made a quiche.
Quiches.
I made 2 quiches. I made like some little low carb keto biscuits, cheesy biscuits to go with some like sausages.
A fish. And
I made salmon.
Made some cake.
Yeah. I put some cake in there. Cake. It's zucchini bread, low carb, all the good stuff. But yeah, so what's great about them is, like, we're really lucky because we do work at home, so you can cook. But there are times where you're like, I'm in the middle of a project, I'm doing stuff, or I have to run into town and back and blah, blah, blah. So you just grab one of these, you've already made it, you heat it up, if it's a heat-upable meal, and then you're like, I'm just eating.
Yep.
You don't have to cook for 20 minutes.
The food doesn't touch each other. It's great.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's fun.
That's part of our scavenger.
Well, yes, it's part of being cheap too, because it really helps. Like when we went to the auction the last time, we brought 2 of those, and we were like, let's just eat in the middle of the day. And we had this great, like, we had like barbecue chicken, and it was
greens.
It was like that's all I needed.
Potatoes.
Like I didn't need to pay $30 for that. I just needed to bring it with me. So that was very helpful.
It's like it's Boston food market.
Boston Market, I know.
Boston Market.
You love saying that. You're like, it's like Boston Market in here. It's really
cute. People are like, let's get on with this. Okay, eBay. So we had a good comment from what we were talking about a week ago. I was really into, like, how do we sell only $1,000 items? I mean, it's so crazy. Like, why can't we just do that? And someone made a good comment on a YouTube, actually. I'm sorry, I didn't write down who it was. And he said, online selling consists of hitting a bunch of singles with occasional home runs. Mm-hmm. The big fancy auction houses have events to draw interest for the big ticket items. I don't think it's possible to do that when you sell online. Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Right.
I mean, what I was proposing was a little crazy. But, and so if you think about, like, if you run a baseball team, it'd be great to have a home run for every hit.
Right.
But that, even the best baseball teams, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you run a baseball team, you want to get more and more home runs per game.
Right,
so
right. Average it out.
I guess that's what I'm saying. And so, for instance, let's talk about the numbers.
Yes.
We have it's 5,800 items in our large store, in our main store. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it. We have only 100 items that are over $200. I was
a very small
super
fraction.
Surprised at that.
Like, what the heck?
I mean, we might only have 250 items that are over $100.
Right. It's
so
very... Yeah.
It's a minuscule amount. Most items are under $100,
right?
And most of them being more. So that's like having a baseball team where everyone can only hit a single, and there are very few people that can hit a home run, and,
right?
And so, I want that percentage to go up to. It's almost like I've been thinking about this. Like, let's think of it like we're starting a whole new kind of sub store. It's within our main store. Like,
right.
Let's do what we tell people. Let's get 500 items in our store that are over $200.
Yeah.
Right.
So that those things are available for purchase. Yeah.
And someone else made a very good comment on the its forum, or I think he emailed us actually. Mm-hmm. He said, you end up just having to sell what's available in your area. And I totally agree with that too. Like, we went to our thrift stores during our week, and there's not $1,000 items on the ground.
Yeah.
Although we did find one.
Although that was from a thrift store.
Yeah, but,
but still,
it was just the bread and butter
that?
stuff. But we do know that when we go to things like auction houses or estate sales, very often in the past we've kind of been blind. We're kind of like, that's the expensive stuff. Let's not even look at that.
Right.
And now we're just open to the possibility of looking at the more expensive stuff and be willing to see, like, what here could we buy that might sell for more?
Right.
Okay, so people, I probably had about 10 people send us a link to this one person that sells on eBay.
I'll tell you why. Because they won an eBay Shine Award.
Right. eBay Shine.
So they're like known. Right. It's not like everyone just discovered.
The eBay, it's
like a family
award.
Business.
It's like the Academy Award of eBay.
Exactly. So
it's a family-run business. They're in Connecticut. They've been on eBay for a long time. It's a WWOLST12. Wolst 12. It's a good example of showing you it does not matter what your user ID is. It does not matter at all. It sounds like he and his wife would go to estate sales and auctions, and they would buy stuff and sell it. And now it seems like I can't be sure, but they do a lot of consignment.
And
if you look at their solds, most stuff sells for over $300.
Yeah.
Very
really
often,
high quality stuff.
Every couple of days, they'll sell something for over $1,000 or even $3,000. I mean, it's pretty amazing. But again, it's mostly consignment. And on his site, he says they take almost 40% of the sale after fees. Uh-huh. And if you think about it, like, is that good? Like, if you sell something for $300, you're making about $100 after fees. I don't know. I mean, but that's not bad if the items just come to you.
You didn't have to go search for it.
So it is that, thing about, like, it's great if you want to sell high dollar items, but you have to have an influx. And I guess he solved that by doing consignment.
Right.
What's interesting about him is that he does just auctions.
Yeah.
Starts them at 99 cents and
no reserve or anything.
So I guess that's a shtick, and it seems to work well for him. And it's cool. But
that's amazing.
I really appreciated people sending me those links to sellers who mainly sold high dollar items.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see the consignment part. Like, that's his thing.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to do consignments. Can you do that without doing consignments?
Right. It's just also good to see, like, what people are selling.
Right. So, like, our experiment, we went to an auction 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We bought 8 boxes of stuff for $900. That's pricey for us.
That's a lot of money for us.
Like, we normally don't spend that much. We have about 90% of it up.
Yeah, it's almost
We've
done.
been working, getting it all up, and that's new for us too. We're kind of sometimes slow, but we got it all up. We've already sold 3, maybe 4 things now quickly. for about $300 to $400. You know,
it's getting there.
Like stuff that's sold right away.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping, is that several big sales will pay for the whole thing, and then everything else is
profit.
And so, do you want to talk about this? Because I've been taking the photos, and I'll write titles, and I'll kind of do the first part of it, and then you're the one that kind of goes through it all and prices it. And it's been hard, right?
Yeah, it's hard because there is that whole thing of auction versus buy it now for these higher end items where you're like, okay, I see a similar thingy sold for X amount at buy it now, and you're like, is it worth a lot more than that? It's the only one I could find. There aren't any listed. So you're just kind of like, do I put it on auction, or do I just throw a high buy it now with make offer and be happy? Like, it's tough. Right. So I did put a couple things on auction just to see, because it is like this weird stuff that I'm like, I don't know what this is.
It's just like all that weird antique stuff.
Antique-y
crystal,
stuff.
Brass, like weird trinkets and
right. So like
art.
I had 2 crystal goblets from Sweden. They were marked. They had a label on them, and they sold really quickly for $100. And I'm like, did I underprice that? Should I have put it on auction? It's just 2 little goblets.
The funny thing is, I said this, if I was the one packing up that table, I would have thrown those away in the trash. I would have been like, junk?
That's so crazy to me, because they had labels from Sweden. You don't throw things away that are labeled. Crazy freak. But yeah.
Junk!
It does look like junk. It's like 2 little goblets, sherry goblets.
And then the last thing we talk about are numbers. Guaranteed its shipping its program has started on eBay. It's just a new thing where they're trying to get people to opt in, where you as a seller, you guarantee that the person's going to get the item in 3 days. And that means that you have to jump through these hoops to get it out quickly, to ship it a certain way.
Yeah. We
opted into it. But it is not showing for over half of our items, even though we've done everything they've asked, so all the criteria is there. And you called eBay. Someone even called you back, like he was working it's with you on the problem. And he sees that, it's not showing up. And he just says, well, I don't know. It's just a bug. I'll talk to the developers. And it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And the big question is, eBay, if anyone ever hears this, we have no idea. We've never heard from anyone from eBay about our podcast, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But why do you do these big changes in the prime time of selling? Like, why do you do it now? Like, do this in February, you know?
Oh, that's my question. I'm like, I even said it to the rep. I'm like, this is a huge change that's affecting how people see my items. And it's during Christmas buying. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Why not do it in a slower month like spring or summer?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah. I think crazy. February would be the best time.
Yeah.
Because then the holidays are over with, and it's before a summertime. Do it. I don't know. So it's weird when they do these big kind of changes, but it's fine.
It's just, we're still selling.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where you're kind of powerless. Who knows what's going on over there? There's no way to tell why something doesn't show up and something does. The people online, on the phone can't tell you, and you're just like, you know what? I'm not going to stress about it.
There's nothing I can
We'll do what we can on our end, and it'll eventually work out. Okay, let's talk about our numbers for the week. We had a good week. We sold 70 items, which, number one, is good by itself, even without that $1,125 sale.
Yeah.
In total, we sold $3,600.
It helps to have that one big sale.
So again, even without that big sale, we still did $2,400 or $500.
Because of the holiday, it did feel slow. There were some days in the beginning of the week where we're just selling, and then the holiday is just like...
I mean, we did a podcast on this just a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, holidays for us are just like another day. So And people are like, no, it's really great. It's for us. You know, our sales are up 40 percent. I'm like, that's cool. But I was talking to some people on the its forum, and they're like, it's so slow. And it really just depends on what kind of stuff is in your inventory. You know, if you're selling like old clothes and shoes, it'll probably be just kind of a generic week because it's not like a big deal to people who are looking for holiday stuff.
Right.
If you sell big screen TVs, I bet you're doing real good. If you're doing a retail arbitrage and it's like Christmas stuff and toys and electronics, I bet things are doing really well. If you're selling like weird crystal goblets and
I sold a weird crystal goblet.
Yeah, you know, owl or things. I don't know. It's just going to be normal, and it's just the way it is. And you know, we can't cry about it. In our second store, we sold almost $400 of stuff.
Wow, that's.
And again, our second store is our like autopilot store.
Yeah.
You know, we sold 9 things. It's cool. You know, it's just like you know, I don't know. It's just. Hi, store. I'm glad it's working. Okay, a couple of things we sold that I think were cool was we had a death pile of posters.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 years ago.
Well, look, number one, it took us a long time to take photos of them.
Right. So I think we bought them, 3 years ago. It's when we drove down to Florida to see your aunt and uncle.
Yeah, it was like, we bought these posters. It was this huge thing of posters. Like, they were all wrapped up, you know, in each other, so we couldn't really see. But what they were vintage animal activist posters.
PETA
like
posters.
PETA.
Right. I'm sure people are like, PETA. But anyway, you know, PETA's a thing.
Right.
They were a vintage. You know, like
they're from the 80s and 90s.
Right. And we bought a whole box of them. They're a couple bucks. They sat in a corner. No one wanted to do anything with them. I finally took pictures of them and wrote descriptions of them. And then you sat on them for a year.
I didn't. They were sitting in this folder. This is a year ago we stopped using folders. So they've been sitting in this folder. And we kind of looked at it together and we were like, are those even listed? And I'm like, they're not.
And we listed them and we already sold 2 of them.
And one of them sold for over $100
because we had several of them that are Elvira. She, I guess,
Sandra Peterson,
who knew that she was a PETA activist.
Yeah, somebody knows she's a PETA activist.
Yeah,
we didn't.
I didn't know.
She's like a vegetarian, vegan, activist and stuff.
No. You can't be a vegetarian, vegan.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, she must be vegan then. But yeah, so that's a cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool sales because you're like, I can't believe I've been sitting on these for so long. What is my problem?
Yep. So if you have a death pile, get on it. Ryan mentioned the Swedish flutes, the champagne flutes or whatever.
Those were great.
That sold for over $100.
They were like sherry glasses.
So why is it? Because that's something new to me. Why is Swedish
crystal?
I
don't know. People collect
it.
Yeah. Like, why do people collect anything?
I don't know.
People collect Swedish crystal.
There's a reason for anything. Okay.
What's the reason for collecting things?
She doesn't know. It's name me one thing and I'll tell you.
Swedish crystal.
Well, that I don't know. Name something else. Why PETA posters? I don't know, because people are into PETA and they want to. Okay. All right. This isn't going anywhere.
Okay.
All right.
So another good sale was a pair of firefighter boots.
Sold for $100.
We sold for $100 to. It's actually the shoe designer of Marc Jacobs.
Cool.
So I don't know if it's going in a store.
Yeah, it's either going to go into like a window. You know, it's like they're going to do something with firefighter boots to show off their new line, or one day soon, Marc Jacobs is going to be designing firefighter boots. I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt that, but it's always fun to sell to designers.
Yeah.
Like, I always, when it's like, you know, some address in Soho, you're like, that's something. Probably.
And I always want them to contact us and to invite us.
I know you said
and fly us to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And like, we're in a boardroom and they're like, so is Ryan and Jay. So tell us about like what's going to be hot soon. You know, tell us about the old trends that we should be in, and we could give them a PowerPoint.
And what are they, Jay? Tell me. We have no idea.
I've told you before, I've been way ahead on a lot of trends that are now super trendy.
Okay.
And you know I'm right. And
wow.
Okay, Scavenge of the Week. I would say, Ryan might have a different opinion. We went to a thrift store and we found a big pile of Ranger pants. We live near a national park, and you know, people retire or something, and we'll find these big piles of pants, and they're nice pants. They're like, you know, green, heavy duty kind of outdoor pants. They're often in really good shape,
right?
And you know, we can buy a bag of them for cheap, and then we sell them for $30 each.
Yeah, pants are good. We just like that cha-ching you guys heard. That was a pair of vintage pants. I like pants. They're easy.
How about you?
Scavenge of the Week?
Baby clothes.
We bought some baby clothes made in the USA, made in New York. Baby, you're not allowed to call them onesies.
Yeah. Like, just
one
someone,
piece.
For some reason, was selling like a huge pile of unused kind of like designer baby clothes, something we never deal with, but they're so cheap. We're going to just try it out. Like, can we sell each a onesie for...
Don't call it a onesie, you'll get sued.
$30, you know? I mean, if so, we could make like $30, like almost almost $500 if that's true. We
bought them for $20.
But we'll see. Could be a fantasy.
Okay, customer issues. Global shipping program buyer buys a pair of shoes, doesn't like the color,
wants to return it.
Is
blaming us.
Right.
So what happens? Like, do we pay all the shipping back? eBay doesn't allow us to send them a shipping label. So
right.
So it's confusing. So this is what we do. Like everything, we accept its return. I feel like a lot of buyers get confused about that, especially people who are new.
Accept it.
If someone opens a case and wants to return an item, you accept it. Because this is what happens. People are like, I'm not going to accept that because of XYZ. Okay, fine. Don't accept it. The buyer appeals it or pushes it, escalates it, and then eBay says,
here's all your money back, buyer.
Yeah, and then the person that sold the item's like, eBay's ripping me off, like it's a scam, they're destroying, it's my life. Well, it's because you don't accept the return. The person doesn't want the item.
Right.
So we accept its return, then you deal with the consequences, and you talk to eBay about who's at fault.
Right.
And so you call eBay, and what did they say?
Well, truth be told, she was like, you didn't say the color in your item specifics, which is insane. When have I ever not? I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know they let you list a pair of shoes without a color.
So we made an error.
So I made an error.
We didn't actually say the color, but my thing is...
They're photos.
There's photos.
Yeah, like, but people...
That's what the color is.
That's the problem, is that people are like...
That's why eBay always backs us when a buyer...
buyer's remorse.
Because, if a buyer says they don't like the color, it's like, well, eBay's smart. They're like, but that's what the color is.
Yeah.
Like, so, I don't know... We accepted its return. You know, eBay's not allowing, there's no way to give them
a shipping label.
So we'll just, if they'll ship it back, we'll just see. The worst that happens is we eat the cost, a lesson learned, our mistake.
Relist it with the color and the item specifics.
The good thing is they may just not send it back and we close it. We'll see.
Right. Well, okay, so I asked them specifically how long I have to wait before closing it. If they don't return it, there's no tracking, no information, whatever. And they said for global shipping, she said 10 business days.
So that's like
So I've never heard that before.
It's like 14 actual days.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks total. So you're like, okay, well.
So we'll obviously call back after 6 business days or whatever and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, things we learned in the forum. We talked about it. People are kind of complaining about sales being slow. And, the reason is it just depends what each of us sells.
Yeah.
That is what it is. And also, interesting enough, in the last podcast, you were really making a plea.
Yes.
That eBay should crack down on bad buyers. And I was like, don't worry about it. Like, whatever. And people were like, no. There needs to be discipline in this in this world.
I mean, you know why, right?
If eBay doesn't crack down on these bad buyers, they'll just do it again. They're like little children.
It's like, look, when you have a buyer who, and we've heard this before with electronics or whatever, sends you an item that's not the original item you sent them, and eBay refunds them fully.
Right. So I guess my point was, as a person that sells on eBay, I'm like, as long as they make us whole, I'm like, whatever. I don't care.
I get that. And that's true.
You know, like I'm not going to stress about it, I want, you know.
It creates, okay, look, you know what it reminds me of? When YouTube first started, you and I both know this from experience because we were doing video on the web before YouTube. When YouTube first started, you could not moderate comments. You could not delete comments. And it created a culture, a toxic culture online. Now you can, you know, moderate stuff, but they started that way. And if you continue that way,
right, it
just, you know, becomes like a nightmare.
Or, so, for instance, if you feed your cat at the table, like
look at me.
If you're sitting at the table eating your food, and the cat comes up on the bench, and you give it little pieces of food,
it's gonna always want to eat.
It's not gonna think, "Oh, thanks for a one-time meal." It's gonna be like every time we're eating together. And I'm jumping on the table.
I love blue cheese dressing.
When you put out your dishes for the week in the nice little airplane style things, I'm going to jump up on the table and I'm going to eat out of each of them while you guys are on the couch. That's what happens. So you got to shut that down.
You started it.
Okay, let's hear some comments or questions that we got this week.
You can call us on the voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. You have 3 minutes to leave a message.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. Tom down here in Oklahoma City. Hope you guys are having a good week. Well, I guess it's Monday, so let's just start it. Anyway, I was sitting here listening to this week's podcast and just had a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to say is that, Ryan, you're absolutely correct. If eBay continues to give in to the buyers who are scamming these sellers, scamming us, you know, it's just going to just make it more frustrating and make it harder on us as a seller. You know, it just seems like it's getting to where they're just leaning a little bit too much towards the buyer's side, you know. So I just think you're right. I think they should have just, on that gentleman's deal, they should have just said, you know, they should have let him appeal it, but they had the pictures. They agreed it's not the same item, so they shouldn't have given in. Anyway, so that's my item number one. Item number two is that File Exchange is still around. You're talking about File Exchange. It was Turbo Lister that they did away with, that they no longer support. You can still use it to upload, but they don't support it anymore. So that's done away with. And then there was one other thing, but goodness gracious, can't remember what the heck it was. Well, I guess if I think of it, I'll call back. Anyway, super appreciate you guys, and have a super week. All right, bye.
So yeah, that's a good example of the kind of comments we got, and I agree. People are right. eBay, you know, if there's going to be rules, let's enforce those rules. And you know, it really is. You know, I think all of us that have smaller stores, you know, and small, I mean like under 5,000 items, you know, that's not, you know, the fear is like it's going to be like Amazon, where just people can buy anything, return it for any reason at all.
For free.
And we don't have, I just can't afford to eat that much cost because of people who are not reading descriptions or being rude or being, you know, not honest.
Right. Number two, File Exchange. So we know Turbo Lister was...
yeah, and I made a mistake on that.
So is that
too.
what you...
I mean, I said it was File Exchange that closed down, but it's Turbo
So File
Lister.
Exchange still exists?
Yeah, but... yeah, so...
interesting.
Because I guess, you know, people that do, like, especially a retail arbitrage or wholesale, they build these things into... like Excel sheet kind of thing, and then they can just change everything and then just
really
sync it
smart.
to their eBay store.
Yeah, totally.
Hi, I am calling. I've called before. Still love your show. Love it every week. Just wanted to comment on a couple things that you addressed last week. One of them is the buy now, pay later. I had one of those in September, and they bought a purse, and it took them about 4 days to email me to say, I love this purse, and I'm going to pay you at the end of the month. I'm a retired teacher, and that's when I get paid. So she didn't ask me probably until eBay's reminder had opened up or something. And then she basically told me. So I had to weigh the pros and cons, and what I did was gave her a little smack on the hand and said, you probably should have asked me before I took this out of circulation for you. But because you are a retired teacher and I respect that, I will hold it. And the only reason I did that was because I had had that purse for like a year. And I decided, what the heck, I'll take a chance because otherwise I might have it for another year. And she did end up paying, and I did end up sending it. The other thing is about the partial refunds for fees on eBay if you refund somebody through PayPal. So what I do is I will keep track if I give anybody a partial refund, which I do often if they way overpay for shipping. I just keep track of them, and about every 3 or 4 months, I'll call eBay. And I'll just go down the whole list, and they'll say, oh, yep, okay, I can give you a refund for that, and oh, yep. And so I'll go down, and I think the last time I called, I got like $19 back. So it is a waste of time if you do it every single time, but save them up and grab one of those eBay customer service reps one day and just go down the line. And I've never not had the refunds given. So anyway, those are my tips, and thank you very much for sharing your information and all that you do. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was a good example of holding an item for someone where it worked out, and that was nice of you.
And we'll do that too, especially if it's an item, just like she says, if it's an item that I'm just like, I just want this gone, I will bend over backwards to get this thing moved. But it's funny, it's like a teacher. I'll give you a slap on, I'm going to let you know. Yeah. You should have done this,
Look, you know what's worse than having someone buy something and not pay for a month and say they're going to pay in a month is having someone pay and then asking you to ship it in a month because they're going to be away. And then you get a ding on your late shipping. Yeah. That to me is almost worse.
See, that's not worse at all. I'm like, if you want to pay for it and then just have me hold it, that's fine. Mm. I mean, I'm like, what I don't want to do is keep it and you not pay me. Right. And then there'd be a chance where you're not going to pay me at all. And then this thing's been out of circulation for all this time. That's true. That's my thing. The good thing is, we talked about is last week someone bought an item.
Yes, it was a piece of jewelry.
They made an offer, we accepted, and then they said, I'm going to pay you in a month. And we said no, and they paid right away. So, like we always say with new people, just you're the boss. You run your store the way you want to run. It's your store. I mean, be nice, be courteous,
But, you're here to pay your bills.
But don't be a doormat. I think that's what I see in a lot of people when they're grinding their gears over eBay or buyers. I feel like they're acting like a victim. And it's like, don't be a victim. Just run your store the way you want it and accept the consequences, I
mean, the thing was with this piece of jewelry, I was like, I expect payment within 48 hours. And because you know what? I wasn't as hungry. I was like, it was $100 sale, which is a great sale on an item I have for a long time. But I was like, I don't want to wait for $100.
So, if you're willing, so it really is who's hungrier.
And who's hungrier? So they were hungrier.
They were hungrier.
Yeah, exactly.
And we fed them.
Yeah.
Delicious meal.
Prepared airplane meal.
Yes, this is Brenda from Scarborough, Maine. And I just listened to one of your podcasts where Jay was a little distressed because he was outbid on some used Smartwool socks. And my question is I had collected 60 pair over the summer at thrift shops, and when I went to list them, eBay wouldn't let me, and saying that they no longer will let you list used socks. So I'm just curious. after listening to the podcast, I went and tried to do a search for pre-owned smart wool socks, and I couldn't come up with any on my search either. So I'm just curious to see what Jay has to say about that. Thanks. We love you.
Number one, I love the Maine accent. The Maine.
Smart wool.
Smart wool.
Yep.
I love that accent.
Look,
okay.
I'm from Boston.
So, yeah.
I appreciate it.
So I just stopped and I looked at eBay, and you're absolutely correct. eBay does not actually let you sell a used sock or a used underwear. And I'm also looking for a used underwear, too.
What?
Ex officio underwear, which anyone knows is like travel underwear, like nylon. It's really expensive. It's like
really expensive.
$20+ for a pair. So I'm looking for a used. So what I saw was the way people are kind of getting around it. You can do new and new without tags. And I guess they're doing it kind of like illegally.
Yeah.
They'll say it's new, but they'll say it's been cleaned. So,
interesting.
I guess they're not admitting like, oh yeah, I wore it a bunch of times and now I'm selling them. But to me, it's like,
well, if you don't care,
if I'm into it, like, why not?
Please don't buy used underwear.
So anyway, if you have a bunch of smart wool socks, email me. I may be interested in buying them from you.
Yeah, like seriously, thescavengerlife@gmail.com. Jay's literally obsessed with smart wool socks.
Yep.
He was so obnoxious over the weekend about me buying them for myself. I'm like, I don't need them. And you're like, you have to.
Wicks off your feet, right?
I know, it's great. And they're super warm and they're wool. I didn't think they were actually wool, but they're a wool blend.
Yep.
But they are wool and nylon. And so they're fast drying and they're super warm.
Yep. And if you just wear it's nylon socks, because that's what we bought when we went overseas, because they dry well. It's like wearing plastic bags, and it'd be like, my God, my feet are just like,
horrible.
It's like I'm wearing plastic bags.
Yeah, you don't
So anyway,
want that.
please send me a link if you want me to buy your wool socks. Or maybe do that. I mean, I guess the danger of trying to sell them, say, new with tags when they aren't really new, is that if someone gets it,
they're like, these aren't new.
They can return it, and it's your fault. But I really feel like the kind of people you're selling them to are smart enough where, as long as they aren't like super dirty with like holes in them, they'll be psyched if they get a good deal.
They want a deal.
I do see some people try and sell these used socks at almost full price. I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Do them cheap.
Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discussed and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video to show you what sold and how much it sold for, and that's currently being brought to you by Steven Schultz. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can rent our rentals. See the link on the sidebar. We have a bunch of openings in the winter, which is kind of off-season.
Yeah, anyone that wants to come and enjoy our area in the wintertime, we will give you such a good scavenger deal.
Yeah,
so
we have a bunch of openings, so check our calendars. We have a brand new house that we just opened. The link is on the sidebars, and we are ending the podcast in 3, 2, 1.
$1,125.
Bye.